Hey everyone, Kevin here. It's Sunday, May 3rd, and White House Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow just gave us a preview of what to expect from the White House support for further stimulus. I'm going to give you his breakdown right now. So here's the scoop. They're doing the same kind of political maneuvering we saw last time, which this isn't to take sides, it just is what it is. They're saying, well, right now we've already spent a lot of money, we're in a pause period, okay, whatever. We've all heard of that. We know the data is going to be bad, we know the economy is still in a terrible contractionary phase, terrible hardships everywhere. That was a quote from him. Here's another one, quote, we're working through that. It's going to be a very difficult few months ahead, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. But then he gets to the part where he starts talking about what would be in the next stimulus package if it were up to the White House. This was from a CNN interview. Here we go. Number one, quote, keeping folks on payroll is so important. Another quote, the president is very keen on a payroll tax holiday for workers, which basically just means your employer might be able to pay you a little bit more for going back to work because they might not have to pay that 7.5 to 15% in payroll taxes. But 7.5 to 15% for going back to work in this kind of risky environment for a lot of us isn't really that exciting. So I personally think they're gonna have to do more than that. But then he goes on to say, the next thing that we want to do is, look, they realize, quote, we waited too long when the last tranche ran out. We don't want to make that mistake again. AKA, if the small business funding starts running out again, we will refund that, or we want to, or we intend to basically refund, like fill that pot back up fast. Keep in mind that that last PPP tranche, the last one that was sort of refilled up for the Paycheck Protection Loan money through the Small Business Administration, that was a $310 billion fund, and $175 billion of that has already been approved in just 1 week. So it kind of already feels like they're running out of that money. Okay, so far we have them reiterating payroll tax holiday and funding that PPP if it runs out. They want to act faster on that. That's good that they're saying they want to act faster. That's interesting. This, though, was more interesting. We'd like to see some significant tax deductions for business, entertainment, and going to sports and athletic events. We're trying so hard to get people to work. Separate quote, we're looking for new ways to give people write-offs, especially as related to COVID. Okay, so let's break this apart here. So on one hand, Larry says, hey, let's give new tax deductions to businesses. That's a very Republican POV. But he kind of threw something in the bundle here that's kind of interesting. Possible tax deductions for entertainment and going to sporting events. That's something we have not heard of yet. In other words, does that mean potentially ticket prices for the movies or for going to sporting events or, going to the arena and athletic events or even concerts would somehow be subsidized by the government? It's interesting. It's not exactly clear with what he meant because he didn't clarify, but it's something to pay attention to, and it's also something new we haven't heard of before. And of course, it makes sense that they want tax deductions for businesses who are investing in sort of more safety and cleanliness around their stores, although that kind of seems like a given. They want more shields on liability protections for these businesses so they don't get sued right when they open up. But what he calls this sort of suite of potential stimulus in phase 4 is economic growth incentives. That's what he says is the main focus for phase 4. And that's also a new phrase that I haven't heard yet. Economic growth incentives. So now this is my speculation, but think about other things that could be under economic growth incentives. Well, obviously, us getting future stimulus checks would be an easy way to stimulate growth because it gets us out and spending. Obviously, us going back to work means that we also get that source of income, but it also means businesses are open and we can spend money at those businesses. So anything that incentivizes people going back to work also makes sense. There are a whole host of things that can be done here, but it is definitely interesting to see Larry today on Sunday say, yeah, we want economic growth incentives that he's defining as payroll tax cuts, payroll tax holidays, incentives for entertainment and sporting, and more tax deductions. Again, though, stops short on potential stimulus checks, but under that heading, economic growth incentives, I wouldn't be surprised to see that in there as well. Overall, though, I see this as a really good news update compared to simply just, we're just gonna wait and see. They're actually saying, But while we're waiting and seeing, these are sort of the plans we're coming up with here. Good to pay attention to this. Stay tuned for more updates. Make sure to subscribe, be a part of the now plus 500K club, and let's get to a mill. Thanks everyone, bye.